So we heard earlier about the $490.7 million in borrowings that would be required to construct the stadium and the $132.32 million in debt servicing costs. So wherever the debt sits, either on the MPDC books or the Stadiums Tasmania books, it's going to have a significant impact on the equity ratio and solvency of those entities. So, Treasurer, how do you consider the risk to be managed there? And I guess I'm interested in your perspective, and I wonder whether the boards have done any risk analysis at either or both the Stadiums Tasmania and Macquarie Point Development Corporation, and if the risk analysis or risk assessments that boards have done about that could be provided.
Or MPDC board, I'm not sure whether they have, and Stadia board.
Through you, Minister. So as I noted, we're working on a term sheet around the transfer arrangements and making sure the different roles and responsibilities will be clear. In terms of the management of debt, I imagine both our boards will have a view, but as the Minister noted, this is we're both entities, instrumentalities of the Crown, and that will be a broader engagement with government around the best way to manage that debt.
Bailouts will be there. Chair, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Energy costs, are you right back?
I guess I'm interested in your view on managing that risk and whether you would expect those boards to be doing internal risk assessments on what the impact of having that amount of debt on the organisation will be.
They will undoubtedly look at that, but as a government, we would be looking at that as well to assist either MPDC or Stadiums Tasmania in dealing with that, taking into account all the other benefits that will flow from having the stadium.
Still got to be able to pay for it, Minister. You've still got to be able to pay for it.
And that is where, if you get the 360 mil influx, the 240 mil influx,
not going to pay for it.
Or you forego all that opportunity, you forego a new hotel, if not two, you forego a lot of opportunities, and that has to be taken into account as well, and that is why, as a total commercial decision for the state, we believe that this will be very much an economic enabler for our state.
So have you asked Treasury to do any modelling on the impact on the two, or whichever entity it ends up with? Have you asked Treasury?
Have dealt with the borrowing costs.
But I mean the impact.
That I read out.
Yeah.
No, 7.2, 7.2, 21.9, 30.7 and 32. They were the figures that I indicated earlier. And then from that, you would reduce that by the extra economic activity, and just, the Lord Mayor's report, told about $179 million extra economic activity.
To the state, not to the government's coffers.
No, to the Hobart City Council area, in fact. So
it's not going to pay for the stadium, Minister.
Can we go back to the member for
The question was, and I asked you earlier today, and you said perhaps raise that question later on when we've got this item. So it was about the Treasury modelling on the equity transfers that will be required into the future, and also the impact on whichever government-owned business that it ends up resting with, the impact on their solvency, because we've seen concerns with GBEs recently, and we don't want to see a repeat of that. So how can we be assured? Will you ask Treasury to do some modelling on that?
Oh, we've got the figures.
Not how are you going to pay for it, apart from borrowing?
Out of the general revenue.
So something's going to be cut elsewhere, borrowings?
No, because there will be on the other side of the ledger income coming in, and that is something that people unfortunately studiously avoid, and that is something that does have to be realistically added into the equation.
$2.6 million in payroll tax you mentioned earlier.
Just from the AFL.
Yep, but there's not been any other amounts coming into the government coffers that have been quantified so far. I'd like to hear them if you have them.
Well, I would assume that if you have a private precinct of housing and people buy
No budget for it.
into that housing, now if the private sector develops it and then people buy, the units or the houses in that area, there'll be stamp duty payable. If there's a brand new hotel built, one can imagine that that hotel will have a wages bill which will be putting it into the payroll tax regime. That's another source of income. And so the list goes on. And of course,